Cranky Motorsports here on this lovely 65 degree Sunday. Out here doing some work on some of my tractors. My front end loader that's on the SS18, I think it's been cavitating the pump, which is why the pump is so noisy. So I'm pulling off the suction line from the tank and I'm putting a larger hose on it. I think I had put a 1/2 inch ID hose and it's supposed to be 3/4 inch. That makes quite a bit of difference when you're talking fluid going to the pump when you're trying to run 4 cylinders on there. So working on that and just odds and ends stuff, swapping some tires, putting good fresh batteries in tractors, and hope you guys come along for the ride. Well, I got my noisy hydraulic pump fixed. The bottom suction line that I had down here, I had run a 1/2 inch hydraulic line, and I looked at my other loader and realized it's supposed to be a 3/4 inch line, so I got some sprayer hose, which is double wall, like a medium pressure hose. So I think it'll be good enough for this because that's just suction, there's no pressure on it. It should be okay for the fluid. Ran a 3/4 inch line all the way to the pump. Refilled the tank. It's about 3/4 fill with ATF and the rest full of tractor fluid or regular hydraulic fluid because it's all I had. And wow, this loader is way faster and the pump is whisper quiet now. So let me go ahead and show you. You guys remember in my last couple of videos with this loader, people were saying that the loader pump was really loud on it, and it was because it was cavitating. Now this is at idle. It's way faster. That's how a loader is supposed to work. So that's one problem fixed. See what I get into next. Well, I got some of the machines out. I got Tow Mater out, he had a flat tire. I got Miss Emily out, both of her front tires were a little bit flat and one of the back tires is a little low. They're filled with fluid, so they shouldn't leak a lot. Sometimes they leak around the rim a little bit, but can't always help that. But it is what it is. I got the Mighty Mongrel 3 out. This thing, other than having a dead battery, fired right up and runs awesome. Of course, the 2 loaders. This guy, I took it out. I had some transmissions in the bucket, so I had to take those out. This one has a leaky cylinder. This lift cylinder, this tilt cylinder on the bucket leaks a little bit. I might try some Wen brand cylinders, W-E-N, and replace the 2 bucket cylinders on this because these ones are pretty... the shafts on them are a little bit pitted up and this seal leaks real bad. Not sure if I can rebuild these or not. I'm definitely not going to get rid of them. But I might pull this one off and swap out the 2 front ones. Haven't quite decided yet. Probably be a lot easier just to rebuild it. But this guy's out just getting some fresh air, and then of course the Super 12 Special. I did have somebody that was going to come buy it, and I guess whatever the money situation isn't where he wanted to be right now, so instead of him buying it, I might just hang on to it. I relisted it for 950 bucks just in a couple of forums, and so far no interest in it. It's a lot of money, but I mean, I got a lot of time in this tractor and I'm not going to let it go for nothing. I may just end up keeping it. I got a set of nice ags I could throw on the back and throw some skinny tires on the front. Took the AR-14 out. This one, the carburetor's still a bit messed up on. I have an ST16 carburetor I might try throwing on this, even though it's a 14 horse Tecumseh in this guy. But haven't quite decided on that yet either. Need to put some brackets on the fenders because they rattle a little bit. few things here and there, but that tractor's pretty much done. I mean, if it gets all covered in grease and leaks, I don't even care, because I got more of the green. I'll just spray it off and touch it up. The ST12 that I bought, this is the first one I bought this year. That one, remember the last couple videos I had with it, it was squeaking. Like when you'd start it up, it was squeaking. And one of my buddies, Brandon Weaver, who's also Offroader 94 on YouTube, he mentioned that it might just be the carb flange leaking air. So I grabbed a 7/16 wrench and snugged down on the 2 bolts, and sure enough, it stopped squeaking. So the other ST12 just sitting there. It's been there most of the winter since I stopped plowing with it. I got to pull it out and probably pull the plow off and clean her up a little bit. Do an oil change in that one because I ran it pretty hard this winter. Yeah, the SS18's still sitting there. Over in this side, I got a little bit of room so I can clean up. So I had 2 of these transmissions in the bucket of the red loader. I had to pull those out. Kids' tractor sitting here. Let's see, what else do I need to do this year? 679's running mint. I mean, that tractor's always good. That one I swapped the custom rear end into it last year, so the gearing's correct on that tractor again now. 69 Suburban 12 with the diesel in it. I don't think that tractor needs anything. I should probably do the rear end fluid in that one because I haven't changed it since I got it, but that tractor's such a joy to mow with. I don't want to do a whole heck of a lot to it. CB Special doesn't need anything, just to clean a little bit here. I might maybe scuff the hood and re-clear the hood this year, we'll see. This guy, 76 SS16 or 16.6, I can't remember now because I replaced the nose cone. It might have been a 16.6, so it's probably a 77. Yeah, it looks like a 77. That one I got to work on the carburetor. Maybe I'll pull that one out again pretty soon. Haven't quite decided yet. 68 Suburban 10 or Suburban 12. I think it's a Suburban 10, but it's got a 12 horse in it now. This one, I have to put a battery in it, finish the wiring, because right now it has no wiring in it. I'm going to put a starter solenoid down to the starter generator, and this particular one, it needs 12 volt power to run because I put a Kohler coil in it. Haven't quite finished that whole conversion over yet, but that one should be good to go once I finish the wiring in it. This thing, I didn't take a video of it, but a couple of weeks ago I was out here. I spent about 2 hours getting this thing running, and it runs halfway decent. It's got fuel issues. I had it running pretty good, but I think part of the reason is because the fuel line, if you can see it, it comes down under the tank and goes up the frame instead of dropping down through the frame and then having a loop that comes up so that the bottom part of the loop fills up with gas. It's a lot easier for the carburetor to draw gas when there's already fuel in the line. The way it's set up right now, it has to basically pull it all the way uphill. There's no gas dripping out of the tank. So this one I haven't quite figured out what to do with yet. I mean, believe it or not, the motor in this thing actually runs really good. Like no knocking, no ticking. I plan on doing gaskets on it because it looks like it was leaking from a lot of places. I mean, it's pretty stinking dirty. You can see all this buildup over here. That's a sign either the gasket behind that bearing plate or the crank seal itself is leaking. There's a lot of dirt and grime down here. So, I mean, it's been leaking a little bit. One of the head gaskets, this one here, looks like the head gasket or the head bolts might have been leaking a little bit. It's really not that bad though. I think I'm gonna pull this one out. I gotta cut this bar off of it or swap the front of the frame, but I'll probably just cut that off for now. And it needs a spindle. This spindle's bent because this one had a loader on it, but the front tires on this thing are fantastic. I kind of want to keep them. I'm not really sure what I'm going to do with this tractor yet. I mean, I have a hood and nose cone I can throw on it. They're not the best, but they'll work. But it did run and drive, so I don't know. I'm either going to keep that one or I don't know. I hate to get rid of an Onan frame. If I sold it, I might pull the motor out of it and the tank and the rear fenders. So at that point, I might as well just part the whole thing out or take it all apart and keep it, or I don't know. This one, I just got to work on the carburetor, and I think the voltage regulator in it's bad. I bought a few new ones so I can change them, but that one needs a little tiny bit of work. This guy, this is a 70 Suburban or 70 SS12. I have the correct 70 SS12 side panels for the hood. What I think I want to do with that one is put my 10 horse Kohler in it. So that one, if I pull that out, that's a 12 horse Points HH120 motor. I kind of want to put the Kohler in it, but the Kohler, I have the pulley on the side of the motor is messed up. It's I don't think you'll be able to see it, but it has like this huge pulley on there. It's like a triple sheave or a double sheave, and one of the sheaves is cracked. But I have a brand new carburetor for that thing, air cleaner, everything ready to go on that. I have a new head gasket for it. I have a new oil pan gasket because I think the oil pan gasket on that one leaks. I mean, it's a good motor. It's a 10 horse, I think it's a K, I don't know, 241 or something. I don't know anything about Kohlers, but I know it's a 10 horse Kohler. This is actually a Tecumseh carburetor off of like an HH or a OH160. So I don't know what that's doing on there, but I might try to shoehorn that guy into that blue Suburban. I think it would be pretty fitting. This guy, I think I need to swap the motor or go through the motor because it doesn't seem to have enough suction to pull gas into it. I mean, otherwise it ran great. It was a little bit noisy. The valves need a little bit of adjusting, but I've gone through the carb on that thing like 3 times and I can't keep it running. But that one I do want to get running again this year. D10S, I just need to change the oil and run it. There's nothing wrong with that tractor. This guy, the governor's messed up still. So if I end up pulling the motor out of this guy, and I've said this a couple times, if I end up pulling the motor out of this, I may stick it in that tractor, or I have a B48M that I also got from Brandon, which again, I'm pretty sure I talked about in the last video, but that black Onan right here, that's a B48M. I may stuff that into this tractor, put the yellow tins and stuff on it, or paint those yellow and drop it in this tractor, give it an 18 horse, and that'd be a real good runner. That's an all original tractor otherwise. This guy's perfect. I got the hood and the grill and the nose cone from Hugh finally for the SS18. So that one I can finish putting back together. Got some nice tires and stuff for that one. So I don't know. SS12, still got to work on that one. That one's not going anywhere. That one I cleaned really well. I WD-40'd the whole frame and everything like that just to keep the paint as it is. The motor runs good, but it knocks. I may just leave it alone. The clutch is all loose on it, so I might stick an SS16 battery tray in it and do that swap, but then I lose my gas tank mount because this one has a gas tank on the battery tray. I'd really like to keep that one original. The clutch is all messed up, so maybe this motor here will donate its clutch and everything into this guy, and I'll put an SS16 clutch in that one, but we'll see. Well, I got some pretty straight fenders for my 1977 16.6. I did the right thing the wrong way. I repainted them. As you can see, there's a big drip here, and that's because I had a little drip up here, and instead of doing the right thing and letting it dry and sanding it and fixing it, I did the right thing the wrong way and chased that thing with the paint can all the way down, which is why you can see these drips along the bottom. But the rest of the tractor's not pretty. One run in the paint, and otherwise good straight fenders will look better than the bent fenders that are on it, which I'll go show you right now. Yeah, so this is what I'm replacing. I mean, these are, you know, they're pretty good up in this area and down here, but not so much in here or in this area here. So obviously a pair of tire chains caught those. I'll probably not get rid of these because I have another chassis out back that if I ever throw one together and sell it, those will probably go on that. But otherwise, I want this thing to look halfway decent. I mean, it's got some rust and some dirt and stuff on it. Hood's not bad. I replaced the nose cone because the nose cone that was on it was busted, and this here's a mint one. One little tiny crack right here. I may, even though it's in good shape, I may bolt a piece of steel on it just to help it from breaking anymore. Like this guy here. I know putting the steel on here isn't the prettiest thing, but it sure works well. But I don't know, that one's in good enough shape. I might just fill it up with resin inside and see what happens. Alright, so this is my 77 16.6, the one I just talked about painting the fenders for. It runs a little bit poorly. Seems like the float is either set too high and it doesn't allow the fuel to go in enough or something like that. And this particular carb, for those of you guys that remember last summer, I had that green and yellow SS16 Mac that I redid for my buddy David. and I just noticed this fuel line's leaking too. It's about ready to fall off, so that might have something to do with it too. But this one basically fills up the carb, it runs okay, and then it runs like it's running out of gas, then it fills up the carb and it runs okay. I think the top of the carburetor's messed up. I have another one here. I have about 7 or 8 spare Onan carburetors, so if one isn't running right, I just pull parts off of another one, spray that one down, throw it on this one. That way I don't have to spend a lot of time messing with it. So I'm gonna go ahead and pull the top off of this carburetor, see if I can find a good hose clamp. If not, I'll use a zip tie for now. That'll be good enough for the time being. See if I can get this thing to run right. Well, I was looking at this and I remembered, don't mind the orangey color, that's because I run Marvel Mystery Oil in my gas. But this hole and this hole on the carburetor are pretty much stripped out, so the top of the carburetor doesn't even stay on there very tight. So as much as I hate to do it right now, I'm gonna pull the intake off. I'm gonna change the carburetor entirely, put new intake gaskets on it, because this one, I think, well, maybe it wasn't this one. The intake gaskets on this have been changed at one time, I think, but it needs new intake gaskets anyway. So as much as I don't want to do this right now, it's only going to take me a good 20-25 minutes to pull it off, swap everything over, get a carb that I think I had previously cleaned, at least run a wire through it, make sure that the idle circuit's clean and stuff. So let's go ahead and do that. Well, ended up grabbing another carburetor. This one's pretty clean inside. I mean, it's not whistle clean, but I cleaned out the idle circuit hole, so it should run pretty good. This one does not have any stripped out holes in it. Get this thing nice and snug on here. And one of the intake gaskets was stuck to the head. The other one ripped, so I did, again, the right thing the wrong way. Changed one gasket because that's all I had for spares. I have kits, but I don't want to take one out of a complete kit that I have for another tractor, so I was able to get one spare gasket for this front cylinder, and the back one is going to stay with what was on there. I think it'll be okay. The back one's an original one, the front one is a paper one, which the paper ones aren't my favorite, but they'll work in a pinch. So let's get this thing lined up here. So I've said a couple times how I bend one pontoon opposite the other one, so you can see this pontoon is a little bit higher than this one. That's how I get my float set right. I never use the helper springs on these things, so usually just setting one a little bit higher than the other one works really well in every one of these that I've ever done. So that's what I'm doing again. get a new clamp for my fuel filter, so let me go get that. And then we'll try her out. I've said it before, if you don't have a hose clamp, sometimes a zip tie will do in a pinch. Most of the time, I end up leaving them on there just because I have too much other stuff to do. So let's take that off the fuel pump. Zip tie. Gotta be careful when you use zip ties though, because if you pull on them too hard, sometimes you'll snap the nipple right off the fuel pump. And yes, I said fuel pump. Alright, so that's back together. Let's hook up my spark plug wires. Let's see how to have this run. Plug the boot on. There we go. Alright, so I got the fuel filter on. Carb's all hooked up. The throttle's hooked up. The choke's not. So let's see if she'll fire up here. Out of gear. Well, as it turns out, I did get the 16.6 running again. When I put the fuel pump back on, I folded the gasket over so it was leaking air, fixed that problem, got it running. Now it's only running on the rear cylinder most of the time, so I'm not exactly sure what's going on. I changed the plug wires and the plugs, so I believe the coil may be bad, which would be a first for me because I've never had a coil go bad, but it is possible. The coil I threw in that thing was one I've had on the bench for, I don't know, 4 or 5 years. It's been thrown in and out of boxes, so I have no idea if it's good. I'm going to change that next time, but for now, that's going to do it for this video. Thanks for watching Cranky Motorsports. Have a great day, and just enjoy the weather.